Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pregame Network podcast. This is episode 93, and I am your host, Dan, joined by, as always, my bestest pal, Anthony, and we are
Ooh,
here to talk about more video games and stuff and things and news about games. And
all the
boy,
good
howdy,
shit
what's
and a
the
lot of
line
bad
from
shit
Toy
too.
Story? Yeah,
Uh,
uh, golly Bob, howdy, there is a lot to talk about this week. There we go, I got it.
there you go.
Um, Yeah, so as always, we will begin with what we've been playing, and then we will get into it. I feel like we should probably trim down what we've been playing to not like we shouldn't like rush through it or anything, but keep it brief this week since we have
Yeah,
so much shit to
we
to
do
get
we
to.
do have a lot of shit to talk about.
I have not been up to too much. I basically have been all I've been playing is a little bit of Battlefield, a moderate amount of Arc Raiders, and a fuckload of Helldivers. I
Yeah, a
have
lot of
been
Helldivers this week.
Yeah, I've been really into Helldivers lately. I just kind of like got the itch again, and I just started diving into the new Automaton update with the new
Hmm.
enemy faction, the Cyborgs. They are great.
Yeah,
Cyberstan is just nothing but fucking chaos, but it's a
it's
good time.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I gotta say, it's what I like the most. I mean, aside from the fact that it's just a neat enemy type to fight, is the fact that it seems to strike a nice balance right in between the traditional bots and the bugs as far as the resilience. So it fits nicely into the different enemy varieties, so you don't have to worry about there being like a new technical or tanky enemy type. It's just good fun, you know?
Yes. Also, they update. So they added the cyborg. Like, there's two different types of cyborgs. There's like the regular ones, and then I forgot what the other ones are called, but like they're like a commander unit where they'll buff the other automatons, where they'll be more aggressive. They don't have more health, but they're more aggressive, and they're overall smarter. It seems
Mhm.
like. So there's that, and then the fucking Vox machines. Oh my God, those things are walking, or I'm sorry, rolling genocides. Oh, they're really tough to take down, and they
Mhm.
are fucking lethal.
Yeah.
But if you get up close, you could just shoot a couple vents and then throw a grenade in a hatch that opens up, and then done deal.
Ah,
Other than
didn't
that,
know
you got
that.
to put a lot of yeah. So if you run up behind one, there's a there's two exhaust vents in the back that you shoot. Then you run underneath. There's like a bigger exhaust vent on the on the belly of it. You blow that up, and then once you blow up the third one, this like exhaust vent hatch thing opens up in the back, and you can toss a grenade in, and it's a one hit kill after that. Um, but yeah, it's been a really good time. I've been experimenting with a lot of different weapon types and loadouts because you kind of have to with the bots. They are they don't play the same as the bugs and the Illuminate,
Yeah.
which is actually like that's a positive thing. Like the factions shouldn't be too similar. But anyway,
Exactly. Yeah.
a lot of Helldivers, decent amount of Arc. I have almost done with my expedition on Arc. I plan on wiping my character, starting
Hmm.
over in a week, just because I know like you're not too into it anymore, but I still like it.
I mean, it's a
And
fine
then
game. I still pick it up when the call to action goes out. It's just I don't play it
I just
solo.
feel
You know.
bad. Yeah, I just feel bad when like we go on a couple of successful runs, and then I think the last time we played, uh, we were going after that leaper, and we were minding our own fucking business. Some dude just ran up behind us and executed us. It was completely unnecessary.
Yeah. But
Um, and Battlefield season 2 begins tomorrow, so
Ooh.
I am I have something to say about that, but I'll save it. So,
Okay.
what have you been playing, my friend?
So I mean, my rotation is still the same stuff that's on there in the
Mhm.
background. The wild card this week has been Resident Evil. Just because maybe it's because Requiem's coming out soon, but I've basically been on a Resident Evil kick. I've been jumping between the ones I like, the ones I don't like. I have Revelations 2, Resident Evil 3 remake, Village, Resident Evil 2 remake, Code Veronica. Just been jumping around just into different save slots. I have like an itch I need to scratch, and I can't quite can't quite figure it out. I ended up playing a lot of Resident Evil 4 remake.
Really interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
on
I know like you're not you don't like actively dislike it, but I know it's not your favorite thing ever.
Yeah, it's my main complaint about it is that like it's basically a really good fighting engine, not fighting engine, a really good shooter, right?
Yeah,
With a little arbitrary weight that it really doesn't need in a remake that really didn't need to be made. Like they could have just taken this whole formula and made an original Resident Evil with it, and it would probably rank really high up there. But as it is compared to Resident Evil 4 to me, it's just always gonna there's always going to be that
Yeah.
comparison that makes me go, why was this made? But
It's actually a really good take on it. I didn't even think about the fact that if they just took the bones of Resident Evil 4 remake and made it an original RE game, it would have been pretty goddamn good just
yeah,
on those bases alone.
And the sad thing is, I don't think they're posed. Like I don't think
No.
they're poised to do that. I think it's just
No.
going to be remakes that are probably
Well-
closer in flavor to 2, and then Requiem, and then they might do some other kind of evolution after that, in whatever direction that
might-
means.
Requiem might be the thing that or at least the thing closest to what you just described.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a continuation of the story, but I don't like. When do you think they're gonna not reboot the franchise, but make like you said, a completely original Resident Evil game?
It'll probably like the absolute earliest would be the next mainline Resident Evil game, which we'll probably see in like 3 years or so. That would be my guess, because they've been inching closer to making this annual, at least for as long as the remakes last. I'm pretty sure the next one's in the pipeline, long time rumored, leading into soft confirmed, is a remake of Resident Evil 0 and a remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica, which are quite frankly the only remakes of this caliber that should have been made. And then after that, they'll probably do a mainline one. And I think we talked about this a while ago, like what would be the next step for Resident Evil, and I didn't really have the best answer. Or I might have had the same answer, but I'll reiterate it regardless because I can't remember what I said in that moment. I think it's really just going to be a matter of playing with perspective the same way Requiem does, where you can switch between over the shoulder and first person. And my whole thing is like, if you obviously haven't followed most of the development between all this stuff, but Resident Evil, the early builds of Resident Evil 4, early builds of Resident Evil Remake 2, Resident Evil 2 Remake, even I think an early build of Resident Evil 4, they've been playing around with different perspectives for a while, and they've never settled with it. I think Resident Evil Revelations 1 has it where you can aim in first person for a little bit. Resident Evil 2 remake played around with tank controls, been back to like the traditional fixed camera, but also played around with third person as you know it in the remake games, but when you aimed it would go first person, which is something a old spin-off called Resident Evil Dead Aim did. That was pretty interesting. Resident Evil 4, one of its earlier builds was tank controls fixed camera, but when you aimed it was more like the traditional Resident Evil 4. I think the next step is going to be control over perspective like that, and I think Requiem is like a stepping stone to that. And that would be interesting because one of my like, I don't want another remake of Resident Evil 1, right? You've heard me bitch about that before. But one of the things they could do to justify its existence is to have multiple perspectives. And I've been saying that since before Requiem was announced and made it like a possibility, I said like, oh, you're going to remake Resident Evil 1 again? You got to let me switch between perspectives. Like, make the game play a different way. You can't just remake the same thing again. There's no fucking point. Well, I guess you could, but there's no point. But I guess the long and short of this is I played a lot of Resident Evil Resident Evil 4 remake. I went through the mercenaries and got high ranks and everything because they added you get to play as the Leon in the RPD outfit if you do that, and it was really the first time I sat down post them adding content to mercenaries. So that's where I put
watching all the Requiem trailers and gameplay overviews and blah 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 blah, it really made me want to go back and play, not necessarily do a whole playthrough of Resident Evil 4 because it's just I've got too much going on right now, but at least play the Mercenaries mode because it's still a ton of fun. And it still grinds my gears that there's no co-op Mercenaries offering in recent years. And that actually brings me to my next point. I really, really fucking hope those rumors are true in Requiem, where they're going to have a co-op Mercenaries. I would buy it on those grounds alone.
Yeah, that would be really neat. That would be really neat.
Yep. The last time they had a co-op Mercenaries was 5. Am I wrong on that?
6.
Okay. Oh, you're right.
And because of the reception to 6 has made them very skittish around the topic of multiplayer, because like that was like a shock to the system when that happened. Where like higher ups were like, you can't do this ever again, essentially. So I think they're really skittish around multiplayer, but we'll see what happens, because Mercenaries is something I have almost a respect for Capcom in restraint in milking, because they could get away with so much shit if they just package that into any kind of thing. But they've been rather restraintful of that, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And the last thing I will say, I will just poke a bit of fun at you, just very slightly.
Me?
At you, very slightly, because you say, you know, I kind of feel like playing Resident Evil 4, and then you say I've got too much going on, and I respect that, and that is true. However, survival horror
I know where you're
games
going with this.
are notoriously very short, even the longer ones like Resident Evil 4.
No, so I actually, as that was coming out of my mouth, I'm on my Steam library, which I usually always am when we record.
Makes sense.
I have a grand total of 25.7 hours of playtime in Resident Evil 4 Remake, and that's including all the time that I put into Mercenaries. So yeah, the single player obviously was not very long at all, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But like, I was mainly just referring to the Mercenaries mode overall. Like I would like to go back and play the Mercenaries mode. Not that I have no interest in replaying the story, but I still have to finish Arkham City, which
No, I get you.
seemingly
Like I said, it was just poking
bugged
fun.
out on me.
I wasn't.
I know, I'm not
putting
offended.
I wasn't putting you to the coals or anything like that. But all in all, that's pretty much all I've been playing. It's been the rotation, and just I'm having a schizo episode with Resident Evil games. I really don't know how else to describe the amount of shit I was just jumping between platforms and emulators and all the different games until I settled down.
Let me ask you a semi-related question.
Go for it.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Requiem?
I've been inching up, like, just
What are you
because
at right now?
8.5, getting close to a
Interesting.
9.
Okay, higher
Yeah,
than I would have thought, to be honest.
Yeah, and you gotta understand, like, I afford myself a little excitement when it comes to Resident Evil, because we kind of talked
Oh, you
about
afford
this
yourself a little excitement.
Yes.
Is there a finite amount of excitement?
Yes, there's a
in you?
finite. I can only have my heart broken so many times. Before the podcast, we talked a little bit about, like, oh, the suffering Olympics of, like, oh, your shit got ruined, my shit got ruined too. But the thing about Resident Evil is, while I have a lot of issues with the remake, I have a lot of issues with what Capcom's been doing over the last couple of years when it comes to things like localization and casualization of all their different games, which is an industry-wide problem. It's not just a Capcom problem. Is the more I see about Resident Evil Requiem, the more I am excited for it, because, like, I am hyper-tuned, I'm locked in, and I'm noticing some kind of, like, course correction. Like, I still have my problems, like I mentioned to you. It's like, I don't buy their marketing line where it's just like, you got to play as Grace because Grace is scared, and you'll be scared because Grace is scared, or whatever. I think that's bullshit marketing, but ultimately,
That
not
will scare me.
Yeah, of course. That's fair. But
as we have previously discussed on this show, I do not handle horror well.
that's perfectly fine. But what I'm getting at is, like, I'm looking at him like, if I don't care if the marketing is bad, like, I do care if the marketing's bad, but it doesn't affect the gameplay when I sit down in front of it, right? I would prefer bad marketing and a good game over, like, bad game and bad marketing, That makes sense.
Course.
And when I was watching, you're gonna go like, "Ooh, that's bad," just because, like, that's where we are. But I was watching gameplay of Leon, and I noticed something, and I'm just like, that ladder, it has yellow paint on it, but not nearly in the amounts that they have used to using on these ladders. So I'm just like, are they learning? Are they dialing back? And, like, that little tinge right there, that's enough to get me like, ooh, is this just gonna be a good Resident Evil? It feels like it's been forever, because I keep thinking about it in the back of my mind, like, I'm so burned by how they handled the remake games, just because it went from, like, a remake that wasn't that great, but it was still a good game, to a remake that shit on one of my favorite games of all time, that being Resident Evil 3, and then Resident Evil 4, which is a remake, which is a little watered down experience of Resident Evil 4. But everybody loves it, so you have to just kind of grin and bear it until everybody gets tired of it. And I was like, that's been a bulk of the Resident Evil experience, because you had Biohazard, which was awesome, and then you had Village, which was okay, and it's like, Requiem might be the one that blows me away if they're doing all the things right, but we'll see what happens.
The fact that you said that Biohazard was awesome really speaks volumes, because as we have discussed previously, you are a skeptic.
Yeah, I definitely am. And
I don't know. That's just Maybe I should finally
Like,
play it.
yeah, I told I think I met we you asked me where it came up in conversation how I maintain a list of my top 100 games ever. Um,
Hmm.
there's like a pool at the bottom. It's like crabs in a bucket, almost like fighting for that 100 to 90 spot,
Crabs in a
right?
bucket.
Yeah, and like Resident Evil 7
That's
Biohazard
fucking funny.
is normally duking it out near the bottom with like games like God of War 2018 where they just like fight it out and like who's gonna be in that 100th spot and try and hold
Mm.
there. Still my favorites still
Speaking of
remain.
which, I still need to beat Ragnarok.
You still haven't? Oh my god! I feel like it's been
I
forever we've been
no.
talking
So
about it.
here's my issue with this. Here's my
Mhm.
issue with beating Ragnarok. Number one, I as the this persistent issue continues or persists, I guess. I want to know life way too many games, and that's like a legitimate problem. Even if I have like a decent amount of time to game like week to
Mhm.
week. Number two, Ragnarok is 175 gigs. Like that is a tough pill to swallow,
That's
my friend.
grotesque. That's
Yeah,
grotesque. I
yeah,
forgot how big that
yeah.
game was.
It's
Oof.
like how fucking why? I don't. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, let's move
I
on.
that's
So
what we've been playing.
yes, that's what we've been playing, and those prospects of what we might be playing in the future. We'll shake Dan loose of at least one of his live service games. Maybe have time, after Arkham
I
City
don't
to
do it
get
on
some.
purpose. Like
I know you
the
don't.
fucking
That's how they're designed. I
gameplay
get it.
is so much fun.
No, yeah, if it's a good game, who the fuck? I'm not judging you for it. I'm just saying it eats a lot of your
I know.
time. That's
Yeah.
just how it is. That's how the games are. All right, so Dan, I'm gonna do. Normally, I do updates and then the write-in in that order. We're gonna do the write-in first, just because the updates are gonna spiral out of control very quickly into a lot of our topics today.
Noted.
So, writing question this week is: do you think the hardware shortages will force developers to actually optimize their games, or will they just bullheadedly keep pushing to add more pores to faces and individual follicles of hair, etc.?
Okay, that is a fucking phenomenal question. Whoever wrote that in, you, that's really Jocelyn the old thought sausage. So good job. Um,
Who are
that's a
you,
really good
me?
question. It's got a
Thought
way of sticking
sausage.
with you.
Oh my god.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so it's a little bit loaded though.
It is.
I think that in an ideal scenario, in a perfect world, yes, that developers would be forced to optimize their games for the current generation platforms. However, I don't see it happening.
Mm,
I I think it takes a certain mindset of a studio to enter into a project with the mentality of having their game very well optimized. I really hate using some of these examples, but they are very well optimized, so I kind of have to. Um, Battlefield 6 is one of them. For
mm,
a AAA studio being DICE, having Battlefield 6 be so well optimized to the point where it runs on hardware that it probably shouldn't.
mm,
Um, that I think that does things a, for a game as a product more than like a game that that you rarely see in the industry today. The
mm,
second example that I could think of is Arc Raiders, but I think that is a byproduct of the developers themselves being industry veterans to the point where they know exactly what they wanted to make. Well, no, not necessarily. I take that back. They just know how to make a really good game
mhm.
in the engine that they're creating it in. And I think that optimization gets overlooked so often today
Yeah,
that it's really just an afterthought at this point.
absolutely.
Uh, and I will give credit to Arrowhead because, as we've discussed previously on an episode a few months ago, the storage capacity that Helldivers 2 required was on PC at least was just preposterous. And Arrowhead basically blamed it on the fact that they needed to do it for people with hard disk drives, with HDDs,
Mhm,
not SSDs. And then for you fast forward like a week or two, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we were following industry trends, and it turns out we don't need to
mhm.
do that." And here's a game that's like fucking 80% reduced size. Like, it was the funniest thing. Gave me whiplash. Um,
Yeah.
but do I think that the current hardware shortages are going to force developers to further optimize their games? No. I So I hate taking the pessimistic approach because I am not a pessimist. I am very much an optimist. However, I am also realistic, especially when it comes to my hobbies and passions. One of those being video games.
Hmm.
I think that for the companies for AAA studios that are backed by giant corporations like Tencent or Microsoft or is Nexon its own company? I think it's its own company.
Yes.
Okay, so but my example stands
Hmm.
for games that are backed by these giant corporations. They couldn't give a flying fuck if the game is optimized. Can you make it, you know, can you make the game that you promised? Can you get it at the door on time? That's really the only two to not even make the game that you promised. Can you get it at the door on time? That's like a semi-functional product. That's the only two questions that they really want answered. And I think optimization is such an afterthought that I just don't see it happening.
Hmm.
The studio really needs to care about the product that they're making to optimize it in the way that Arc Raiders is optimized or that Battlefield is optimized. Trying to think of another game like off the top of my head that is like another modern game I'll say that's pretty well optimized. Or at least something that I play. The only thing that really comes to mind is probably the finals, but that doesn't really count because it's Embark. They've proven themselves to be uh, world class game developers. Maybe Space Marine 2. That game is, I mean,
Mm.
it's not anything special, but it's decently optimized. I can run it on my laptop, no problem.
Yeah, it's decently optimized, and in the game itself, there are certain like scenarios that play out that would tax more heavily in other games and on other systems. So there's the other aspect of optimization is not just necessarily how well it runs, but what they're able to pull off while running in a way that scales appropriately.
Right. Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't think that the hardware shortage is really going to do anything to move the needle in any meaningful way, but I wish it did.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
I
to boil
would.
my answer down to a sentence.
Yeah. So my answer in response to that is, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where it's just like it's probably not going to move the needle. The main reason I say that is because we actually have seen a couple examples of companies updating their requirements pre-release in what can only be described as being pushed by the hardware shortages and stuff like
Okay.
that. So it's out there, but it's mainly for like the really unoptimized stuff or the stuff that doesn't make sense. Like like I think Lego Batman for some reason was going to require like a recommended 32 gigabytes of RAM, and that's
What
ridiculous
the
on its
fuck?
face. Even if
Why? That's
exactly,
insane.
and that's ridiculous even on its
Dude, I
face.
only
Of
have 16 gigs in my desktop.
yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like 16 gigs, as far as I'm concerned, is still above average. 8 is still for your average user. 8 carries you. Um,
Hmm.
and the best way I could put it is if they were really going to be pushed by hardware shortages, we would see games coming down from the 16 gigabyte requirements. It's just other companies that you would really want to see optimize their games are already in a comfortable spot where they won't be affected by the shortages enough to optimize further. Like we've been
That's a
pushing.
perfect
Yeah,
answer. Like that's
yeah,
a perfect take on it.
yeah. The best thing I would say to take a look at to see if this is going to happen or if you're going to have any reasonable times is how long have we been talking about games being too large on hard drives? Like 2017. You know,
Probably earlier.
yeah. So look at the
When
the
did
speed
COD
limit on
start the
that.
balloon? I feel like that was really the beginning of it.
Like 2022
What, really? That's it?
ish.
No.
I mean, it was before that, but you got to remember, like there was a period, like it was after Cold War, so it was like 2021 is when it got
No,
really
hold on a second.
unsustainable.
Modern Warfare 2019. I'm checking it right now. That required. Oh, take a guess.
Uh, 200 gigabytes.
Very close. It's 175, but I think that is, now that I'm actually looking at it, I think that's like taking into account, uh, like the Call of Duty hub that they force you to install a bunch of shit you don't need, and
Exactly.
then you can
That's
go in there retroactively and uninstall a bunch of stuff.
yeah, yeah. That's what makes it
It
kind of
happens to be on
tricky.
sale. I am tempted.
You idiot. But yeah,
What?
it's not nothing. It's fine. Just like, ooh, it's on sale. No, but yeah. So the overall, my answer is it really should, and in some cases it will, but it's not going to be noticeable or in the way that you want, where you want like the big AAA monstrosities to come down. Like, there's been a really nice handful of like people kind of being cajoled into it, like you mentioned, Battlefield and
But
Helldivers
like,
2.
I would
That's
love to
massive.
know. I agreed. I would love to know, like, why, what. See, here's the problem. I don't really understand uh, the decision making that goes into whether or not a game should be super well optimized or not, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an employee in the industry. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
some schmuck that talks about it online.
Yeah.
So I don't know where a company might lose its way as far as the optimization of a game, or if is it like a decision that's made early on where they're not really going to think about it too hard, you
I think
know?
it's both. I think it's both,
Mm,
honestly, because I mean, there's only so many. Like, I hate repeating the same issues over and over again because there's so much nuance to the conversation. But a lot of this boils down to outsourcing and corporate overreach.
yeah,
Because
that's a
I'm
good
sure
point.
I'm somewhere at the top, whether they know it or not. Like the executives at these companies realize they're doing two things. They're saving a shit ton of money by outsourcing, and at the same
Yep.
time the guys that they're outsourcing to aren't great at optimization because they're just raw labor. And then you realize the gears start turning. Now we're competing for storage space. So if our game is good enough for their time and they have to take up a third of their hard drive to do it, chances of our competitors also being on that hard drive, we can afford to not optimize it if that's the case.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of games like that being played at the top too. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I would never do that, but I just think that all the things are aligning just right for that to be just not, I guess, a pressing need to all those involved.
Yeah, it's this really squirrely issue, and unfortunately, I I I bring this up every now and again, but the the I'm trying to figure out the right way to articulate this. The vast majority of people that consume and play games are not as finely in tune with the industry and how things actually work as, as two guys like us. And the thought of optimization or storage capacity, which are directly tied to each other, are just it's not even an afterthought. It's not a thought in general.
Yeah.
Like they just, okay, how big is this game to install? Oh, it's 175 gigs. I guess that's how much it requires. Like it's not, oh, it's
Yeah.
175 gigs. That's completely ridiculous. Why is it like this? There's no reason that it should be this large of an install. That
Yeah.
thought never enters into the vast majority of people's minds that play and consume video games. It just doesn't. And it's unfortunate because even if it was like 10% more of the people that play games are aware of this issue, this wouldn't even be an issue. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Yeah.
Um,
The shortest answer I can give is no, because it's an industry health issue. It's not just a matter
yes,
of can the
completely
consumers
agree.
get the
Yes.
get the and we've definitely touched on that at some point indirectly, just from the nature of how the industry is in the last
Yeah.
couple of years. So that's how I would answer
Yeah.
that.
But anyway, that was a fucking excellent question. I loved it. Whoever
Yeah.
is writing, who's ever doing these write-ins, keep them coming. I love it. This is
Yeah,
great.
Dan, you make Dan's day every single week, and they're always fun
Truly, like
questions, just
I
usual.
love getting questions from this small community that we have cultivated.
Yeah,
I love it. I really do.
I agree.
Uh, so if you're writing in, please continue to write in more questions. We will get to hopefully every question that gets asked. I mean, I'm sure we might hit
Yeah,
a point where it's like unsustainable, but
yeah.
until
If you
that
get
point
if you get
happens,
too
like keep
many
them coming.
questions, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. So moving on to my updates, which, as I mentioned, are going to roll quite messily into what we're going to be talking about, because it's all tangentially related, and so we'll see what happens. So first things first, Overwatch, right?
Oh boy.
Um,
Yep.
Yeah.
Overwatch.
So last week, I said that Blizzard was having what I can only describe as having maybe 1/10 of a come to Jesus moment. They spent
That's a
after spending
yes, 1/10. That's
yes
a good fraction.
yes they spent millions of dollars on content and advertising. They spent countless man hours in reactive development after Marvel Rivals started eating their lunch, and just so there's a big turnaround potentially, not out of the woods, but I described, they were doing some major gameplay alterations. They were front loading 5 characters with this new relaunch, which was more than Overwatch 2 got at launch. The characters weren't mushy. They looked like they could conceivably come out of like an artist's hand and not the diversity tool that they use. And they set all that up, and they immediately chucked the good faith portion of it right out the window, because one of the voice
I wish
actors
I could say I was surprised.
one of the voice actors they hired is another insufferable fucking nut job, and the second the game got announced, she decided to go on a tear about how one of the characters was unrealistically thin. She called it like Ozempic chic or some shit like that. And on top of that,
it's a video game.
But Dan, you don't understand. On top of that, she doesn't look Chinese enough, and so she was a Twitch streamer before this. Never hire streamers or YouTubers. That is such a fucking nightmarish decision.
Except if it's
just
us.
From quality. Yeah, you can hire us for anything. I can't promise you, good reviews for payment, but yeah, so they chucked this right out the fucking window, because guess what? Not only was she just insufferable and riling people up online, they listened to her. So in the near future, one of those characters, the one I described as waifu bait, is going to be
the worst outcome possible.
Yeah, she's going to this character is going to be looking different. We don't know how just yet, but I guess she's not going to be like the cutesy waifu bait anymore. I think they said that she's going to look like the stern older sister type of character. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. But at the same time, the Chinese portion of the fan base is getting riled up because they actually liked the character and thought she looked cool and cute, and they wanted to stay that way. But we don't do that. We only listen to activists here in the West that may or may not pretend to have your best interests at heart. So I just found that funny. The dust hasn't really settled on this new relaunch of Overwatch, so we don't know what's affected. Interestingly enough people have gone back to Overwatch that the core player base that never left is complaining about all the ists and phobes coming back and making the community a sad place. So, I guess we'll all just lose for a little bit before Overwatch just fades into the background again.
Anthony,
why the fuck not?
We all lose all the time, just a little bit until everything gets better. Let me just fucking shatter that real quick.
I guess I was talking about crabs in the bucket before. I think we're all just crabs in the bucket at this point. It's just one of us one day will reach the top and everything will be great. But in the meantime, it's just going to be shit flinging from lunatics on the internet. But yeah, let this be a lesson. Just stop hiring streamers and YouTubers. Actually vet these fucking people, because unlike Japanese games or Korean games or games from overseas, you don't have the luxury of just having somebody turn the dial to the native language and just playing the game. This is your core, core game experience. So you can't dodge the insufferable people. And I feel like every actor after like the original Overwatch 1 content wrapped up into Overwatch 2 and back to Overwatch, it's just been like a minefield, because I think there's been at least 2 other insufferable voice actors that they hired, but whatever. So that was Overwatch.
Okay.
Yeah.
When they released the new update and they dropped the 2, I was like, oh, okay, so you guys finally fucking wised up a little bit. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Still not going to play it, but all right.
I think I said something like, it's a step in the right direction. It's just like I said, 1/10 of a come to Jesus moment. It was, you turned the wheel. You were spinning in the wrong direction. You were starting to course correct, and maybe in a year or so, maybe a little longer, if you kept doing moves like that, you could just go back to making games that appeal to everyone instead of niche vocal lunatics that ruin everything. But it is what it is. So
I'm looking at the Overwatch Steam page right now since we're talking about it, and right now the recent reviews are mostly negative. Can't say that I'm shocked.
Yeah, I will say they did get a pretty nice bump of player base just from the virtue of being one of 2 hero shooters in existence. I think they bumped up to like 100,000 on Steam alone, which is pretty good because a lot of those people are playing on Battle.net.
Honestly, yeah, if I'm being completely like brutally honest, and I know it's not a hero shooter, I know that, but humor me for a second. I think that the finals does a better job of fulfilling that type of power fantasy than
Hmm.
any hero shooter that I have played in the last 10 years.
That's fair. Yeah, I will say that like I won't even dare compare the two because the quality rift is just so vast, just from the
No,
nature of.
that's why
No,
I
no,
gave you that, like,
I
preface.
wasn't even. No, I wasn't going to talk about the hero shoot. I was saying I was going to compare it to Team Fortress 2, because how I hype
Oh,
on class, hype harp on that. I feel like I've put time and experience. Like when I think about Marvel Rivals, I say like, oh, this reminds me of when Overwatch was good. When I play the finals, well, I'm not reminded of Team Fortress 2. The closest experience of logging on and playing and being in that same pool and mindset is Team Fortress 2. Distant, of course, like I need a telescope to see it from here, but like it's in the same lane, so to speak. So
yeah,
I kind of understand where you're coming from, even if they are a little different, as you mentioned.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
All
I know
right.
you got more updates. Keep them coming.
Yeah, yeah. We got one small update and then the one big update that'll roll into like the episode proper. So,
Okay.
um, I mentioned a while ago that Capcom Pro Tour was playing around with the pay-per-view model. We
Yes, you mentioned it.
finally, yeah, we finally got an update on that pay-per-view model. The Capcom Fighters, which is the official esports account from Capcom, announced changes to the upcoming Capcom Cup 12. They lowered the price down to $10 from I think it was 40. They've lifted co-streaming restrictions for the first 3 days. If you remember that ridiculous thing where like you couldn't stream it, or if you were streaming it, you could basically just stream the timer. The first 3 days of the event won't have that issue. And the finals and grand finals of the event will be streamed for free inside the Battle Hub, which is like a little avatar section in Street Fighter 6 proper. Um, and overall, I would say that this sounds good on its face. It's cheaper, it's a little more accessible. The first couple days being open for streaming is a gimme for the community and the streamer types that like to raise a stink over this kind of stuff, while also calling for essentially calling for these kind of actions to take place just from constantly buying into the esports thing. But
Mm.
the only thing I have to really say is that any price is going to put a bit of wall up there. So while some people are saying this is a good step in the right direction, other people are saying it is still not quite enough. And I got to say, as much as we could talk back and forth about how ridiculous paying to watch Street Fighter can sound, and even me, someone who really loves the fighting games and used to watch all the tournaments regularly and all that kind of stuff, someone who can understand like, hey, at a certain point you need to pay out. It's just never going to be good enough for the gaggle that the
Mm.
fighting game community has become over the years, because like you're always going to like, there are people out there who, for lack of a more descript paragraph or whatever, they want everything and they want it for free. you know there's
Yeah.
there's there and like obviously that's human nature to say that, but like in this case where it's just like they want to be in the big leagues, they want to be taken seriously, they want the esports, they want the corporate involvement, but then they don't realize again any of the negatives that come from that, and the fact that if it goes a certain way you're going to need to pay, because like I mentioned when we first talked about this, Capcom, all these other companies that are involved in esports, they are looking for a way to get money from this, and if they don't get it, it is just going to pop eventually, and you're going to get fucking nothing. So, you got you chose everybody chose this devil that they want to be with, and they either need to start paying up or they need to acknowledge that they can't have everything that the way they always did forever. That's all. Um, so
All right.
let's see. The last update I have, and from here we're gonna go in there, is 2XKO.
Oh, yes. Continue.
So last week I told you I played quite a bit of 2XKO, right?
Yes.
And my general takeaway was that I was whelmed, I guess.
Never
And
something you really want to hear.
yeah, and I also said that I didn't think the game was dying or going to die.
Right.
To which I have to say, oops, I guess. Apparently, Riot wasn't thrilled with the direction or reception or
That's
something,
fucking
because
hilarious. I'm sorry. That's just funny.
yeah, no, it is, yeah.
Oops.
They laid off half the 2XKO team, and
Wasn't the only studio to lay off
Oh, absolutely.
half or
We'll get to
more.
that. We'll get to that. Don't you worry. But before, during, and after, laying off the team, they were making contradictory announcements about the game's direction. I think I told you last week that they were talking about the game potentially being entirely different a year from now. They walked that back to a very by the numbers announcement that is a bit more confident in what they were originally intending, I guess. They said, we're doubling down on building for the FGC that loves this genre. And then they talked about how their core pillars, which are duo play, core gameplay, and community competitive programs, were still big priorities. And so naturally, this whole thing lights the fighting community on fire. Because everything lights the fighting game community on fire.
I you beat me to that one. Like I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to interrupt you because I had a feeling you were gonna get there.
Of course. But people were jumping between blaming Riot and sobbing for the devs that lost their jobs, some of which have been FGC regulars, so I guess that tracks. There's a lot of, I forgot just about how many people were involved in this game that were also, playing in tournaments strictly, 10 years ago or however many years ago. These are familiar names. I think one of them was the founder of or one of the founders of Battle by the Bay, which, as you remember, or may not remember, became EVO much later, the big tournament. And it's just been a nightmare because this game, all the problems remain regardless of where the game goes from here. It's got this very confused messaging with, oh, we want casuals to play it, it's free to play, everybody should come play. But then the mechanics, there's a lot of mechanics layered underneath it. But then you have the fighting game community guys complaining about the wrong thing. They're just saying, oh, it takes too many buttons. And then if you know what a fighting game is, you go what are you talking about? This is less buttons than Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and everybody loves that game. And at the same time, Riot is laying people off, which shows that they have no confidence or that they just didn't make the money back. But at the same time, at the most recent tournament, they were paying so much money for advertisements that their pool matches, which are just the placement matches that are early in the tournament, were taking up multiple screens next to grand final matches because they were just bankrolling this whole fucking thing. So it's all very confusing, and it's just, I don't know where the game's going to go from here. It just seems like it's in a really bad place. It's fun for what it is, even though I mentioned that I was whelmed. I'm surprised. What probably ended up happening is it has an audience that is reasonable, but not big enough that Riot was expecting. That's my guess, because it had a decent PC player base. My understanding is it's doing very well on the PlayStation for now. I don't know if that's going to hold, and we'll see what happens. But it just turned into this whole argument because 2XKO is one of the many games that was being pushed as a free-to-play savior for the genre, And basically what happens is, in between the yelling at yet another corporate entity discovering that fighting games are niche and hard to crack, you have people discussing profitability. And I have to get my 2 cents out here on this, because this is something that has irked me for a very, very long time, is that fighting games have tried free-to-play. The experiment is fucking over. It's not going to save the genre. We've had fan projects and fan games and Dojin fighters. I'm going to list off a bunch of names you're not going to know, but the people who are listening, you at least heard about these. You have Akatsuki BlizzConf, Idol Showdown, Hell vs. Duels of Fortune, Fighting is Magic, a whole sea of Dojin fighters throughout the years that just, they don't catch on even though they're free. And you might be saying, oh, well, it's because it's not a real big AAA experience, to which I have to say 2XKO, Multiverses, Killer Instinct, all of them tried free to play. And then you might be saying, well, there's no investment there, so, that's why there's no building there. To which I have to say, Dead or Alive 5, Dead or Alive 6, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus tried releasing a free version and an on-free version, and none of these games take off spectacularly or save the fucking scene. We've tried free to play. The experiment is over. Stop championing it like it's the fucking savior. There are some people out there, Dan, that have been shilling free to play as this is how we get into the big leagues for what feels like 18 years at this point. I've been hearing about free to play. It's awesome. That's how we're gonna get there. It's the big one. It's awesome. It's great. We just need to try it the right time. It feels like I'm having an argument with someone over fucking communism. We just haven't tried it right yet. You know, I don't know if I've ever made that comparison before, but that's what it feels like to me. Is I feel like I'm arguing with a fucking communist here, and it's like, I'm just so sick and tired of it. We need to focus on what just makes games fun and games good. And then at the same time, you have people talking about free to play still needing to be tried just the right way. You have other people talking about like, oh, you know, fighting games need a strong strong single player content to, you know, be real accessible. And I'm just like, well, they should have strong single player content, whatever. I can get behind that. But in the same breath, the same guy that says we need single player content is shitting on Street Fighter 6 World Tour, which is single player content, Tekken Force and Tekken 6. Single player content, all the the same people who say we need strong single player content are looking behind us at all the attempts at single player content and saying those suck, never try that again. So we're learning fucking nothing, and it's just everything's on fire right now. And in between,
I feel like this has been the same message over and over again of the fighting game community not learning anything and then repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again.
They never do. And you know, it's fucking funny because the height of hubris, this kind of like explains it on like a very micro scale, is while all this is going on, I saw posts like there's some fucking cosplayers out there going, we're part of the community too, and people aren't really considering how this might affect us, and people are just kind of pushing us to the side, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up. You like, and that hubris is like in every like voice in the fighting game community. It's a ridiculous example to point at a cosplayer saying like this is all about us somehow. Like that's height of hubris. But like the guys at the top, like the content creators, the people who have been like, I want to say they've got their roots in early, but they're really like parasites. So it's like they've been leeching off this host that they may or may not even love for so long. Talking about, you know, in this moment of reflection, you have those content creators and all those people coming out and they're saying like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago they were they would put out a video like, this is why 2XKO is doing all the right things and this is how it's going to save the fighting. And now they're talking like, you know, we just need to try it one more time and we can't have these moments. We can't talk negatively. It
literally sounds like communism.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And they're doing this whole thing. They're doing this whole song and dance where it's just like, you can't just blindly hate something. This is a moment of reflection. People lost their jobs, and you know, quite frankly, the failure of 2XKO is because all you people online were being mean and just hating blindly, and so fucking, you're so mean to the developers, and you didn't buy the game, and that it's really your fault that these games are failing and these developers are at a loss. One guy in particular,
just maybe it's not a good product.
One guy in particular who I'm really not a big fan of, he said the quiet part out loud. He's just like, if I handed one of these guys $1,000 check, they wouldn't change their mind. And I'm just like, is there something you want to tell us about? I'm just like, is there something you want to tell us about your opinion and how much it's worth? Is this like, again, the quiet part out loud or whatever? But all this to say is this dovetailed quite nicely into another event that was going on, and it highlights something that we've been talking about, which is toxic positivity, Daniel.
Oh boy.
Where for years and years, you know, it's pretty prevalent in the fighting game community, but it is an industry-wide issue where you'll have people, if you have a singular critique or if you feel passionate about a franchise that's going through some, you know, turmoil development-wise, and you say anything negative, you are just a hater, you're just a problem. And all the people that cozy up to these developers, including all these fighting game guys I'm talking about, just get these guys blindsided because they're telling them they're doing all the right thing, you can do no wrong, and then they fail, for lack of better, like, not everything's going to be as catastrophic as something like a Concord or, as we're about to talk about, a Highguard, but it's a cold splash of water, that much I can say. And and toxic positivity is just such a damaging thing out there. But you were going to say?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, this is the most perfect transition that you possibly could have given me for the whole Highguard situation, because
let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about Highguard. So, where to even fucking begin? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull up the Steam charts real quick of what Highguard is sitting at right now.
I think they currently have.
Well, right now they have 1,538 people in game, which is honestly more than I was expecting. Now, the whole reason why we're even bringing up Highguard in the first place is because Wildlight Studios, the developer behind the game, have just laid off the vast majority of their staff.
Yeah.
And these aren't like outsourced contractors. These are employees of Wildlight Entertainment. These are people who were more than likely there from the beginning of the development of Highguard, and now they just don't have a job.
Mm.
And this is so multifaceted. It's not even funny. Uh,
Yeah.
so, oh God, where do I even begin? When Highguard first launched, they were sitting at like over 100. No, they were like at 99,000. I have it right in front of me. What the fuck am I talking about? They were at 97,000 peak concurrent players, and that was 21 days ago. Right now, like I said, they're sitting at 1,500. The 24-hour peak is at 1,900. Basically, that is a tremendous drop off in player count. Um, I'm pretty sure if you look at the Steam achievements, there we go. Um, the percentage of people that completed the tutorial was like, okay, so 74.1% of players completed the tutorial, which means 25% of people didn't even get that far. Oh my God. So here's the issue with Highguard. And I've said this since we first played like the first couple matches or whatever. There is something there, without a doubt. There's something there. The shooting feels pretty good. I don't think it feels spectacular or anything, but the shooting feels pretty good. The game mode overall, it's not bad, but there's so much bullshit surrounding it that it like the game itself couldn't survive all that bullshit that was maybe hiding a diamond in the rough somewhere. Now, they touted in their reveal trailer it was made by the same people who created Apex and Titanfall. They quickly removed that fucking hotline from the Steam description of the game because once the trailer dropped, everyone was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then once the game came out, everyone said, "This is really not that good." But again, like there is something there, but the game just obviously was not ready. So fast forward about 2 to 3 weeks, the majority of Wildlight employees are now laid off, and the game is basically on life support. If they don't pull the plug like soon, I will be shocked.
Yeah.
Now, I'm kind of apathetic towards the whole situation because I actually just uninstalled it from my desktop. It's just kind of taking up space, and
Yeah.
I don't know when we're ever going to play it again. I'm not going to play it on my own because there's no point.
Yeah.
But it just I don't quite think it's a Concord 2 because
No.
the game would have been shut down already.
Yeah, the
That's
time for
kind of
that is already
disingenuous.
passed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only
but
other
at the
thing I'll
same
make as a
time-
comparison for Concord is that this game was like what was it, 2.5 years in development. It most definitely did not
Did?
cost as much as Concord, and at the same token, it wasn't like being pushed internally by a major player like Sony. So it's just like it never really had the chance to fail like a Concord. It's more indicative and more of a strike against just your average AAA developer who hasn't necessarily caught on with the trends and their hubris and their reaction to it.
Right, and the whole Game Awards trailer thing was both a good and a very bad thing. Now I
Yeah.
say good because I think the vast majority of people that would have been the target audience for this game never would have known this game existed. And then if what they wanted would have come to pass and played out the way that they were hoping, this game would have shadow dropped exactly the same way as Apex Legends. They would have just said absolutely nothing, and then one day Highguard would have just appeared on the Steam store, and it would have been available to download and to play. Now, Jeff Keighley went to Wildlight, played the game for however many hours he played it for, thought that it was fantastic, and decided. And granted, it's his show, so he could do what he wants, but unilaterally decided that, hey, I want to give you guys the closing trailer spot of the night. Not only the closing trailer spot of the night, but completely free of charge. They didn't have to pay or that prime time spot where every single set of eyeballs that is watching the biggest gaming show in the world of the year is watching that part of the show at that time.
Hmm.
And they even one of the developers said, or I think it was one of the studio heads said, like, we would have been, stupid to turn down that offer. And I agree, but at the same time, that's only one side of the double-edged sword, because
Yeah.
the trailer was thrown together in basically no time, and then when they showed it to the world, everybody collectively was like, "What is this thing?" And
Yeah.
and then they went fucking radio silent for a month.
Hmm.
Which, you know, it's one thing to want to have shadow dropped your game, but it's another to get the trailer slot that they had and then operate under the same MO as if you were still shadow dropping it. Like at that point, granted hindsight is 2020, but at that point they should have completely changed their marketing approach and posted the fucking like 60 something videos that they put up in the last week, uh, in the amount of time that between the reveal trailer and the game actually launching. And
Hmm.
that wouldn't have done anything to change like the actual quality of the game, but at the same time, at least people would have had some fucking idea of what this thing actually is. I mean, we're basically performing a post-mortem right now, but it's easy
Yeah.
to do, hindsight 2020 and all. But even in the moment, I feel like it wouldn't have been that far of a leap to for one of the people that was in like the decision making spots in Wildlight to say, "Hey, everybody knows about this game now. Shouldn't we do something in the realm of marketing to promote it, or try to at the very least explain what the fuck this thing is?" And they just
Hmm.
didn't. They just they operated the same way as if they were going to shadow drop it, which granted,
Yeah.
like I said before, was the original plan, but like you can't have it both ways. They wanted their cake and they wanted to eat it too, and it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
And they tried to make it work, and it blew up in their faces.
Yeah. I mean, like I have a limited amount of sympathy for that situation, just because it's like I get it. Like you were kind of thrust in a position you didn't want to be, but at the same time you followed along with that because again, how could you turn down like prime time, that
Right,
people would pay thousands
right,
for? Like
exactly.
I get it, but it's just like the second you hear that, you need to start like preparing a course correction, like you said, where like all of the stuff that dropped after the game launched should have been dropped leading up to it, because like it wouldn't have like
Dude,
fixed the problem,
within
but like
I think in the last 2 weeks, or no, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like this is important to get out.
of
Um,
course.
Within a couple day span, the Wildlight YouTube channel posted somewhere in the realm of like 60 videos between lore, um, gameplay explanations, gameplay overviews, different trailers for what the game is, weapon showcases, map showcases, character show. Like they posted so many different fucking things in like a couple days span that should have been a steady feed of marketing information in the 6 weeks from the game trailer, from the Game Awards trailer to launch day, that they didn't. Like I don't understand. It
I
again,
do
hindsight is 2020, but at the
yeah,
same time, it seems so fucking obvious.
well, a couple things have come out since then, which might, I mean, we're gonna learn more about this as the things continue, but like my eyes are immediately drawn to like the overall makeup of the studio, because we talked a lot about like, oh, where they come from and all this kind of stuff, but at the same time, I've heard like two stories in particular which lead me to believe that there were some nightmare level of management
Right.
issues in there, because the two things that
Yep.
stuck out to me is one of the people laid off was like not even a character artist, like a character artist, like liaison or like director or something. Like his job was not creating the models or leading a team in creating the models, but reaching out to other companies to have models and characters made for the game. And that's a major red flag for me. Like, why are you doing that with the team size you have? And the
Wait,
other thing,
so hold on,
so
pause.
yeah.
So like that person position was to be a liaison between Wildlight and a vendor to
Essentially,
do
yes.
with the
That's
heavy
the best way to
lifting.
put that. I don't remember the exact title, but the job was not watching someone make the model, not making the model within the studio, but reaching out to another company to make the model. Like kind of like headhunting for
That's
artists,
insane.
essentially. Yeah. And the other thing to
That's
consider
crazy.
is I just found this out today is there was only one concept artist for the characters on the team, and that same person
Oh God.
was in charge of handling microtransactions. So he didn't have time equally like evenly spent across both. Like he was basically just jumping between the two areas constantly, and I'm just like, well, that what this all says to me is like there was definitely some kind of management issues to the point where I'm willing to believe if they wanted to course correct and start like an advertising campaign between the Game Awards and launch, I don't know if they were capable of doing that, like even if they wanted to, you
They're
know.
definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in light of that information, I guess they weren't. But I mean, still, like, even with that piece of new information, it would take one executive at Wildlight to say, "Hey, we need to do this, make it happen." You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't take that much to churn out a bunch of trailers. I mean, the videos that I was talking about before, where they released a bunch of different videos in a couple days span, they were only like at max 2 minutes. Like it doesn't take that much to create that.
Mhm.
So it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Every part of the Highguard situation is just like, how did you not see this coming? One situation after the other, and it really sucks because, like I've said in the past couple episodes, I am a huge fan of the individuals that made this game because they made one of my favorite games of all time. And like, how could you get it so wrong?
Yeah.
Where all of you are these industry veterans that are really good at their jobs, yet at the same time, like you're working on this product that is even internally, you admit that X, Y, and Z thing doesn't work, but oh, the mountain riding works and the gunplay is really fun, and the fighting inside of the different raid bases is really good, but everything else is just like not where it needs to be. And
Now,
I feel
Dan,
like the game would have had a different reception if it had the early access label slapped on it and not a
maybe.
full 1.0 release.
Maybe. But Dan, I just have to say, have you considered that you're just a hate monger and you're the reason that the game failed?
No, I haven't, because I'm a paying fucking customer that would have paid money for the game if it was something worth paying for. I know it's free, but I'm sorry, it's still a shitty product.
Well, this leads me to kind of the last part of our Highguard conversation is I have to
Okay.
just ask, did you read like the open letter, so to speak, from this guy Josh Sobel?
I think I know the letter you're talking about. This is the same guy who said that we were a joke from minute one.
Yes, indeed. And
Okay, yeah. I
unfortunately
saw
for
that.
you,
I don't know anything else.
Unfortunately for you, he has since taken down the letter and I think privated his account. But I do have the transcript here. I can read you just a couple snippets that kind of show you the mentality.
Gotta love the internet.
Let's see. Let's see. The day leading up to the Game Awards 2025 was amongst the most exciting of my life. After 2.5 years
Yes.
of passionately working on Highguard, we were ready to reveal it to the world. The future seemed bright. Everyone I knew who had any connection to the team or project had some positive sentiments. He listed off a few. I don't have them here, but basically he was like, "There's no way this could fail. This is lightning in a bottle." Like again, that toxic positivity we were talking about before, is everybody
Yeah.
was gassing him up, and he's just like, but then the trailer came out and it was all downhill from there. Content creators love to point out the bias in folks who give positive previews after being flown out for an event, but ignore the fact that their negative leaning content gets 10 times the engagement of the positive. They've got just as much incentive to lean into a disingenuous direction, whether consciously or not. The hate started immediately. In addition to dogpiling on the trailer, I personally came under fire due to my naivete on Twitter, which almost all of my now former coworkers had learned to avoid during their previous game launches. After setting my Twitter account to private to protect my sanity, many content creators made videos and posts about me and my cowardice, amassing millions of views and inadvertently sending hundreds of angry gamers into my replies. They laughed at me for being proud of the game, told me to get out the McDonald's applications, and and mocked me for listing having autism in my bio, which they seemed to think was evidence the game would be woke trash.
Wait a second. This person actually had autism in their bio?
Apparently, all of
Is
this
that
was
like
very...
something to be proud of?
People
God,
put
all right.
people put labels about everything on everything these days, you know. Let's see. We were turned into a joke from minute one, largely due to false assumptions about $1 million ad placement, which even prominent journalists soon began to state as fact. Within minutes, it was decided this game was dead on arrival, and creators now had free rage bait content for a month. Every one of our videos on social media got downvoted to hell. Comment sections were flooded with copy-paste meme phrases such as Concord 2 and Titanfall 3 died for this at launch. At launch, we received over 14K review bombs from users with less than an hour of playtime. Many didn't even finish the required tutorial. Have you considered why? Let's see. Sony's troubled live service shooter Concord, Riot's recently launched 2XKO and such. It is often pointed out by gamers that devs like to blame gamers for their failures, and that's silly. As if it's gamers have no power, but they do, a lot of it. I'm not going to say our failure is purely the fault of gamer culture and that the game would have thrived without the negative discourse, but it absolutely played a role. All products are at the whims of the consumers, and consumers put absurd amount of effort into slandering Highguard, and it worked. As a consequence of this, let's see.
Okay.
If this pattern
continues, so much to say.
Don't worry, it's almost over. If this pattern continues, this part you're going to love. If this pattern continues, all that will be left are corporations, at least in the multiplayer space. Innovation is on life support. Even if Highguard had a rocky launch, our independent, self-published, dev-led studio full of passionate people just trying to make a fun game with zero AI and zero corporate oversight deserved better than this. We deserved the bare minimum of not having our downfall be gleefully manifested. Dan, what do you think?
So, oh man, where to begin? So this person is basically blaming gamers for 50% of the failure. At least that's
Dan,
how I interpret it.
Dan, said he's not blaming
I'm
gamers.
Speaking. I'm speaking. I have the conch. Okay. So,
the whiteboard that says you're the man.
The whole
today.
toxic positivity thing absolutely played a fucking role in this. And okay, I'm trying to find where to begin first. It is somebody's responsibility. Not even like it's not even, oh, is it the mean thing to say? No, it's somebody's fucking responsibility at Wildlight to say, hey, let's pause for a second, pump the brakes. What doesn't work about this project, right? Like, that person should exist in every single game studio in existence, full stop. If you recognize as a developer that, hey, maybe the minute and a half gear up phase of the match is just a little bit too long, or there's nothing going, like, it's just dead air, maybe that needs to change. And the fact that they thought it was okay for them to ship that in a 1.0 release is just bonkers to me, but that's neither here nor there at this point. He basically said that the failure of Concord wasn't because it's a bad product, it's because people love to hate monger. And while, yes, that may be true, people absolutely love to hate monger, it is not mutually exclusive. It could still absolutely be a bad product. And guess what? Your game is a bad product. I'm sorry, but that's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
And the fact that nobody wanted to say a single negative thing about it in any point of the development process, that's not the consumer's fault. Like, fuck you. That is... It is the people who's making the game fault. There's no other way to put it.
And I'm
so angry about this because of, just like many other gamers out there, I probably believe about 25% that Titanfall 3 died for this. It didn't have to be Titanfall 3. They could have gave it a completely different name, made it a different IP, but the same fucking thing. And people would have been over the moon about it, and it would have been a slam dunk. And that's just the facts. So don't come to me with this, oh, woe is me letter to the internet saying that the game failed because everything else besides what we did as a development studio. No, the buck begins and fucking ends with you. So you got to deal with that, and you got to accept
Yeah.
that. That is, I'm just gonna I'm gonna continue to talk in circles. So that's
Yeah, I mean,
basically my thought on it. Let me hear your thought.
yeah, I mean, the gist of it is like, I mean, we've talked a lot about Highguard at a mechanical level. We played it, we sat down, we did our due diligence. If there was any point in the near future that you said let's play it again, I would say let's give it another shot. And it's like we did our due diligence, and our takeaway was basically like, I think you walked away
It
basically
was
saying
lukewarm.
like, yeah, like lukewarm. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Like part of me goes to his letter again, where he pointed out innovation is on life support. It's like you guys didn't cross the bar. I mean, I
Not
give you a lot of
necessarily.
credit.
I honestly disagree with that sentiment almost entirely. That innovation
Hmm.
is on life support. Just no. Just
Yeah,
no.
it's
Uh,
like I can understand where he's coming from, but like regardless of whether he means it and whether or not we agree or disagree with it, I'm just like, but your product didn't like innovate. It's I give it a
yeah.
lot of credit more than you did when we played it, of taking small bits and pieces from other games
And
and
that's
doing it in a way
saying
that's
something, by
satisfying.
the
Yeah,
way.
like
Anybody out there that's listening, the fact that Anthony gave it more credit than me is like that speaks volumes.
it's fucking it's crazy to me that it's just like we would be considered hate mongers just because we had something, we had negative things to say about this, despite the fact that I think our opinions on this are pretty, like you said it before, lukewarm. It's
Honestly,
nothing
I think
extreme,
our
nothing
opinions on
terrible.
this are pretty goddamn fair.
Yeah, we did our due diligence on this. It's the video we have out is like an hour and a half or so, but we played it for like 5 hours or something like that. We put our time
Like
in.
I don't hate this game. I really don't. I hate the fact that this person wrote this whole post to the internet basically saying it was the majority of other people's fault
Mhm.
versus their own. Like that is just so tone deaf. It's not even funny.
Yeah,
And the fact that he's trying to defend just the simple notion that the game, face planted upon release is a little disgusting to me.
yeah.
Um, Especially because, like, look, I like while we were playing the game, I was actively trying to find like redeeming qualities in the product, and there just wasn't any. And
Hey, that's not true. You
like, what
said you
am I
liked
supposed
the
to do with that?
animations. You said you liked the animations.
Yeah, no, no, no. Okay, fine, fine. The fact that I could barely find any, that's not my fault. It was just not a great product.
Mm. Yeah. And
So
I think I said it when
yeah,
we
God,
wrapped last time. It's literally like, even if the game were persevering, it's still the model behind the content, this free to play live service model. It was the least appealing part of the entire product, and it's basically what you're dangling in front of me, saying, see what you don't get anymore now that the game is dead. Don't you feel so bad?
yeah,
Like, not really. I mean, I like, as even though I had nice things to say about the game, I'm not like, the way you were going to feed me more content did not appeal to me in the slightest. So
right.
just it's whatever. But I guess that puts a pin on it. I
God,
mean, my understand that same concept artist, when I found out that there was this person was also the microtransaction manager, and had his time split between those two things. Apparently,
mm,
the character that he was very excited about, like, he's just like, oh, there's a chance this character might not see the light of day, but I can't let that happen, so I have permission to show this artwork. And I'm just like, that's not a good sign. Not a good sign. I think it's just a matter of time. Next week we might be talking about like end of service of Highguard. Who knows? But
yeah.
yeah.
Oh
But
God, it's not. It's
it's
not. I wouldn't even call this a tragedy. It's just a shame.
yeah,
I think there's a difference
yeah.
because again, I don't know how many different times I could say it. The individuals that built iGuard are very talented. I will not take that away from them. They are very talented. Where along the process this went horribly wrong, I couldn't tell you, but it did somewhere.
Mm.
And the dividends are being paid right now for that lack of foresight. So it just it's a shame because we could have had something a lot better, but nobody felt like taking the time to say, "Hey, let's pause. what's not working about this, and then go back to the drawing board. But I think
And
we've
the
talked
big,
in,
yeah, and the last thing to really say is the big part of that is because everybody was telling them you were good to go, and you just were not.
yeah, yep. So we've talked way too
Yeah,
much about Highguard.
yeah, it's
So
time to, yeah,
let's move
it's,
on. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have
Um,
anything else that you want to get to?
I have a few, but what do you got? What kind of size thing are we
No, I
talking?
mean
Like,
I was just gonna start going down the list of news articles that I have.
well, if you know what, get those news articles out. If any of it is related to the state of play, skip it, and we'll do that last.
Okay, so nothing is related to the state of play. So,
Cool.
um, so the Remedy, the developer of Control, and also the developer of Control Resonant, they have
Mhm.
a new CEO. It is a former EA executive, which honestly, big fucking red flag. So, I hope Resident is good. Actually, while we're talking about Resident, they released actually, this was in the state of play. I mean, I could talk about it now because I'm already talking
Yeah,
about
yeah. Just talk about it because you're not
Resident.
talking about anything yet.
I might as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so this is a very double-edged sword because the fact that Remedy has a an EA executive as their new CEO is like extremely worrying to me because
Of
they were
course.
one of the very few studios out there that like really had a vice grip of creative control up on their own IPs, and now this guy is coming in, and I just don't get a good vibe. But I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. Um, during the state of play, they put out a gameplay overview for Control Resonant, and honestly, I think it looks awesome. I'm actually like really looking forward to this game. Uh,
Hmm.
it does not look like a shooter whatsoever in the same vein that Control was a shooter. This looks like a borderline Devil May Cry type of action game, but I think it looks awesome. I'm
It's
actually really looking
it,
forward
it,
to it.
it's funny that you say that because when I was watching the state of play, that came up and it didn't do the title drop right away, and I'd kind of forgotten about this. I'm just like, oh, is this a new action game? So I mean, it gets points for me not realizing what it was initially, like by the numbers,
Yeah.
So there you go. That's
But
all I
that was the
really
only
have to
thing I
say.
really had
I
to
think
say.
the
Like,
play is fine.
yeah, the trailer was like 2.5 minutes, maybe three, but they
Yeah.
showed more than I thought they were going to. The gameplay, the environment, the overall tone, and the mechanics, they all look really good. And the way that Dylan Faden like has whatever like shape shifting melee weapon thing that he has, um, but it's like this massive weapon, like kind of like the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy, but
Mm.
he can maneuver it very, very quickly. That looks really cool to me. I've always been a fan of like the vibe and the tone that Control had. The story was a little bit weird for me, in particular, um, but Resident looks like a lot of fun. It looks really, really good, and I'm very excited to see how it does come launch. What was it? It comes out later this year. I want to say like
I think
holiday
so.
time.
I think so.
So yeah, new CEO, kind of a red flag.
Yeah.
Um, uh, what is this guy's name? Departed, blah blah. I can't pronounce this guy's name. Uh, Guadachon,
Okay.
Gaudechon, Guadachon. That's his
Mm.
last name. But he spent over 15 years at EA, and now he's going to Remedy. So I don't know, man. EA, there is a reason they were voted the most hated company in America several years running.
Yeah. I guess good
Um,
luck there.
uh, yeah, Jean Charles Guadachon has been named CEO of Remedy Entertainment. Um, I don't know, man. That's an interesting choice. What who Sam Lake wasn't CEO, was he? He was just the creative director,
I think he's a major creative lead, but I don't think he was ever CEO.
interim and co-founder Marcus Mackay, Maki, but it's got an umlaut over the A. I don't know how you pronounce it. Will continue overseeing operations until Guadachon begins his tenure.
Huh.
All right.
Well,
Um,
I guess we'll see what
I mean, their
happens.
last offering was not great, that being FBC Firebreak, but
Mm.
Resident looks really, really good. I am genuinely looking forward to that game, so we'll see what
Hmm.
happens with that. Um, let's see what else we got here. Tripwire Interactive. So they are the developers of Killing Floor 1, 2, and
Yep.
3. They nothing huge. They just promoted a new map. Now I am in the minority when I say that I don't think Killing Floor 3 is as bad as like the Killing Floor
Yeah.
community is making it out to be. I really don't. Um, I think the game absolutely has its issues. The number one issue that I have with the game is ironically, the optimization. It does not run well on any system that I have, and
Mm.
yeah, I have a laptop that runs anything that I throw at it at 1080p, basically no problem over 60 FPS, and it is kind of janky on that laptop. My desktop that I have I think it's a 4070. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's a 4070. Uh, uh, my desktop runs Killing Floor 3 fine. And I'm saying fine as an adjective in a negative sense, if that makes sense.
Oh.
um, I should be able to run Killing Floor 3 fucking phenomenally, and I can't. And I couldn't tell you why.
Oof.
Yeah, but
Optimization.
anyway,
We
going.
talked about it.
Yep, yep, yes, we did. Optimization, not the best. Going back to the original point, they are promoting their Arctic base map, which I think there was a very similar one in Killing Floor 2, but I am genuinely rooting for Killing Floor 3, and to be perfectly honest, I am shocked that it is not totally dead yet, because I check the Steam charts like semi regularly, and I'm just to tell you right now, Killing Floor 3 is at 335 people in game. That
Mm.
is not good. Obviously, I don't know what the console numbers are. I would assume they're higher, but Killing Floor has historically been a PC game since it was originally I don't think it was a Counter-Strike. I think it was a Quake mod. I could be wrong, but it definitely
That was
started
a
as a mod of
Half-Life mod.
some game.
Some gold source
Yes,
mod,
that
right?
that, that might have been it.
Somewhere
Yeah.
between Half-Life and
But Killing Floor, well,
Counter-Strike.
if I search Killing Floor 2, it's probably more than Killing Floor 2 is at almost 4,000. So that's a pretty big fucking disparity. And I
Yeah.
could tell you from personal experience, playing Killing Floor 2 versus 3, there is a noticeable quality difference. And that makes
Mm.
me sad because I do want Killing Floor 3 to be the best thing that it can be.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to my original point, they're coming out with a new map. They did announce a roadmap. Did I go over this last week? I feel like I did.
It does sound familiar.
So they put out like a year two roadmap that they do have like a decent amount of content coming. Granted, it should have been there at launch, but I guess here we are.
Yeah.
Tripwire will probably keep on hammering away at the Killing Floor updates. I definitely do not want this game to die because I do think it's fun, but I think it needs a lot of work.
Mm.
So that is my Killing Floor update for
Okay.
the day. Moving on from there, so Hazelight's Joseph Faris, who is historically known for those like uniquely co-op experiences. We just finished Split Fiction. I thought it
Mhm.
was great.
Mhm.
A lot of fun. But he also did A Way Out, It Takes Two, and I
Yes.
think one more thing that is escaping me right now.
I
But
am in the
they
same
are
boat.
working.
It is also
Hazelight as
escaping me.
yeah. Hazelight as a studio is working on its next project, which I can only assume is going to be another co-op experience, which I am all for.
Mhm.
I think that those games are very unique, and there are not enough of them right now, so I am a fan of that. Um, Next up for me, we have Battlefield 6 Season 2. And I got some stuff to say about this.
Go
So,
for it.
as a member of the Battlefield community, and as somebody who pays pretty close attention to the overall reception of that community, not great. So I don't know why they are structuring the seasonal updates in this way, but this is how they're doing it. So in season 2, we have on February 17th, so at the time of this recording, that is tomorrow, Extreme Measures. On March 17th is a update called Nightfall, and on April 14th is an update called Hunter/Prey. Now, they are adding a decent amount to the game. However,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it, I would say about approximately 50% of the content that they are adding to the game are limited time events or modes. And
Oh,
that just doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
yeah.
I'm going to go over really quickly what they're adding, right? So tomorrow on February 17th, the update Extreme Measures comes out. We are getting a new map called Contaminated. Now that's a permanent map that will add to the overall longevity of the game. Um, Next to that is the VL7 Strike, which is a limited time mode, which is like gases on the map, and if you go into it, you hallucinate, blah blah
Mhm.
blah. Then we have the Red Sec updates. I'm not even going to go into that because both
Yeah.
of them are limited time events, and who fucking cares because they're going to be gone soon anyway. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the next thing after that on tomorrow is new hardware. So we have the Little Bird helicopter, which is a great addition that adds to the overall longevity of the game. Holy shit, I can't talk.
Spit it
And then
out,
we
Matt.
have um, then we have 5 new weapons. We have a DMR, an assault rifle, okay, I guess not a weapon, a new gadget, a new machine gun, and a new launcher. All those are good things. They'll stay in the game permanently. On March 17th for Nightfall, we have a new map. Definitely a good thing. This game definitely needs more maps. Nightfall, which is the limited time event, which is basically, you remember the Modern Warfare events or maps where they're all at night. You have to use your night vision goggles. It's that.
Yes. Okay.
Um, uh, 2 new Red Sec updates, which one of them is a limited time event. The other one is a new point of interest. I guess I don't play Red Sec, so I don't really care. But one is the LTM, which whatever. The other is a new POI, so I guess if you play Red Sec, that's a good thing because that'll stay there. Um, After that is a new hardware, so we have a dirt bike, so that's good. The new overall vehicle. We have the Scorpion submachine gun and the Scorpion sidearm. So, or what the difference is? Like the Evo Scorpion from like Black Ops 2, and then the Scorpion pistol or sidearm from Modern Warfare.
Yes.
You know those
Yes.
guns.
I'm familiar.
So yeah, so those guns are being added to the game. Great, more weapons, good. After that, April 14th, Hunter Prey. Okay, so this is where I have like a real problem. Um, do you know what the operations game mode is from Battlefield?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so they are putting the operations game mode in Battlefield on April 14th, but it's a limited time mode. Now, the operations game mode has historically been the most popular game mode that Battlefield has ever had. Why the fuck are you making it an LTM? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's an
It's
easy slam dunk.
it's got to be some kind of ploy for attention or something. I can't
I think
really.
that the community is going to be up in arms and they're going to be forced to add it permanently. That's my personal
Yeah,
opinion.
I can't imagine it's. I mean, if they're happy enough with the numbers, they could just keep teasing you with it. I don't know.
I don't like it. I think they need to add that as a permanent game mode. That would bring a lot of people back to the game.
Yeah.
And the player count has dropped off and it needs to come back. Anyway, moving on.
Mhm.
We have new Portal updates for April, which is definitely good. There have been some really impressive creations in Battlefield Portal. There's a new bonus battle pass. I don't fucking care. I'm glazing right over that.
Mm.
And then we have a new vehicle and a new melee weapon. The new melee weapon, it's kind of like an for me because
Mhm.
I mean it's a melee weapon. How different could it possibly be?
That's something
Um,
that's always confused me with, especially in Call of Duty up until they actually started making melee weapon differences. But for a long time, they did if you remember Modern Warfare Remastered had like, oh, look at the different melee weapons you can get. I'm like, it's just the knife. Like, what
it's a
what
it's a melee
exactly are you
weapon.
doing here? Yeah.
You left click or you pull the right trigger and it kills somebody in one shot. It's not mechanically any different. I really can't stand this shit. And
Yeah.
it's a machete, but it like hold on, I gotta send you this picture because it looks fucking retarded. It 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 looks moronic. Hold on, it's coming over right now.
Okay, let's see what we got. Oh my
Like
god,
what is that? Yeah.
with the fish hook. I don't know what to, I don't. It's
Yeah,
having an
yeah.
identity
I don't know
crisis
what that
because it's
is.
got like a scythe kind of thing at the top, and it's got like teeth as if it
Yep.
was like a saw or something. And like I don't want to shit on cool for the sake of
Yeah, I
cool.
don't
I'm
know
just
what they're
I
going
don't know.
for.
Just if they just called it the Ripper, I feel like it would get less scrutiny. But calling it a
If
machete is a bit much.
I I don't even think this looks cool. I think if it was just like a handheld scythe, it would be way cooler. But whatever. So that's the new Battlefield updates. Now, it's been a pretty common complaint that uh, Battlefield 6 needs more content overall, and I am in complete agreement with that. We used to live in a time where DICE would release like these huge content packs with like 5 or 6 maps, a bunch of new weapons, these new game modes, like all this shit just dropped on us at once. And now we're
Mm,
getting whatever this is. We're literally 50% of the content is being taken away from us whenever they decide they're going to take it away,
hmm
and I don't like that at all.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's your Battlefield update for the week.
there you go.
Moving on, Jason Momoa, he is to star in the Helldivers movie that's being produced by Sony.
Does that mean he's just
I
gonna?
actually think this movie, what,
Does that mean he's just gonna die like immediately? Isn't that wasn't that their
over and
whole
over and
shtick?
over again?
Wasn't that the shtick? Wasn't that like their whole like, oh,
Maybe
if we get big name actors, it's only because we can kill them in violent ways. I remember that
that'd be
being
pretty
a
funny.
big thing for them. You reported
I
that to me. I
actually
read the
think.
fucking article.
I actually think that's a pretty good casting choice because uh, I think that Jason Momoa is like a good mix of like hyper masculinity versus comedy. I just watched
He's
this
been falling
movie.
into that role recently where he
Yeah,
like
I
ever
don't I
since
don't hate it.
ever I don't hate it either. I'm just saying it's been like ever since he played Aquaman. Like I feel like
Yeah,
all of his
yeah,
roles after
yeah.
that have been like machismo, but also
Yep.
comedy.
I watched this movie last week called The Wrecking Crew, and it was him and Dave Bautista, and they played brothers that were trying to find their father's murderer.
Mm.
And it was like a buddy cop type of movie, but I liked it. I thought it was like pretty entertaining, and the charisma between the two of them were good. So I can imagine like that type of character in the Helldivers universe. I think it would work because
Okay.
the whole Helldivers universe is like it's all satire. So
Mm.
I think it works.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there. Um, let's see. Moving on. I'm kind of blowing through all like the small stuff.
Makes
Uh,
sense.
so Arc Raiders or it's currently they're having a 2 week PvE event that rewards you for destroying the Arc robots and helping other players destroy the Arc robots. And it's one of those like bonus battle pass type of things. But
Mm.
I actually like the way that Embark handles their battle passes because they are extraordinarily generous with the
Mm.
rewards that they give you. I actually have like $20 in like premium currency that I just haven't spent yet, just based on gameplay that I've gone through,
Yeah.
and I think that's how all live service games should be.
Mm.
Because once I spend that premium currency on stuff that I want, I am already inclined to buy more premium currency to buy more shit that I want.
Hmm.
So it just, it kind of just goes to show like you be generous to the player, I will be generous back.
Yeah.
And that's that's it.
Yeah,
Um,
simple strategy right there, and it kind of factors into what whenever we talk about Call of Duty and their greed with the microtransactions. I always say like DLC, reasonably priced DLC in a good game will sell to people. It just
yeah.
you need to make a good product, and you need to like build
Yeah. I
passive
don't even
relations with
think
the customer.
yeah, I don't even think that their prices are like that out of the ordinary. I just think they are so generous in their existing battle pass and like bonus battle passes that I would still be willing to shell out actual money for things that I would want in the game.
Hmm.
And it just goes to show that, like I literally just said, if you are generous to me, I am more inclined to be generous to you. I bought the base game. I have not spent a dime beyond that, and I have like $20 in premium currency just from doing the bonus passes and the existing battle pass. So That's just how it should be.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Moving on from there. Okay, we got Marathon. um, oh boy. All right.
Yeah, we got
Uh,
Marathon. Go ahead, talk about
where
Marathon,
to
buddy.
where to begin with this? Marathon seems to be poising itself as a hardcore PvP extraction shooter. Now, I don't even have a problem with this because the way, like, so Arc Raiders exists right now, and that is the natural comparison to what Marathon is. Now, just the fact that they both exist is the only, like, that's kind of where the similarities end.
Yes.
Arc Raiders is a, has historically been called the extraction shooter for people with jobs, right? And I couldn't agree more. Marathon seems way more unforgiving, like
Yeah.
truly way more unforgiving. I've seen a handful of gameplay, and I am not really that impressed. I still don't like the art style and the overall presentation of the game. It just looks like, God, I don't. How do you even describe it? Like
It's not
everything looks
easy
like it's
on the
made out of Tonka
eyes.
toys. Yeah, yeah,
It's not easy
perfect.
on the
Yep,
eyes.
yeah. So I have that issue. One of the few redeeming qualities for me as a basically lifelong Bungie fan at this point is the fact that it's first person, and I enjoy first person shooters way more than third person. I don't have a problem with third person. I just like first person shooters better. Um, and it seems to be more in line with what DMZ was in Modern Warfare 2, and I really like that formula. I don't really know how else to put it.
Mm.
But that being said, um, it does seem far more unforgiving, and something about like dumping hours into a game only to load in with your best shit just to be murdered uh, from a place you could not have possibly have seen coming, and then to be reset. Marathon does not have any kind of a safe pocket mechanic in the same way that Arc Raiders does, which
Hmm.
is leaning even more into the hardcore version of the extraction genre.
Yeah.
And again, I don't necessarily have a problem with it because that is clearly what Bungie is trying to do with this game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if I want to invest the effort that it's going to take into this game that I am okay with investing in Arc Raiders. Um, Now, they're going to have their server slam next week. I think it's on the 26th. I could be wrong. The
Mm.
26th is a Thursday. It might be the 26th or the 27th. It's over the weekend.
Mm.
Um, I'm gonna play because I have to know how this game is. Um, and you're gonna play with me. You don't have a choice.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm
I'm
not
on
sorry.
board. Yeah.
Um, I have to see because if nothing else, the server slam will be the single biggest contributing factor to whether or not I actually purchase the game.
Oh my
Now,
god.
as of right now, I do not plan on buying it. The server slam will really have to knock my socks off for me to actually like throw money at this game.
Hmm.
So we will see what happens. But the handful of gameplay that I did see from Marathon, I wasn't super over the moon impressed with. Like when it comes to Destiny, the the overall art style and tone, the fact that they like blend fantasy and sci-fi together, I really like that, and it works so well together. Um, and I know I am like a little biased with Destiny, but uh, I still think that the blend between sci-fi and fantasy works so well in Destiny that them leaning so hardcore into like far, far, far future sci-fi, and especially in the way that they decided to do it, I'm just like, it just kind of looks ugly. Like I don't really know. Eh, it just looks ugly. It does. I'm sorry. It looks ugly. Um, but we'll see what happens. I know you don't really have many thoughts on Marathon until after the
Yeah,
service slam, most likely.
my. I mean, I'll have more to say if I experience it. Obviously, we talk all the time about how you should play the fucking games before you judge. But I mean, I don't have much confidence in Bungie. I don't have
Neither
a
do I at this
dire
point. Let me
need.
let me be clear.
Yeah.
Bungie cannot do anything right now over the past year and a half, and it's like it's kind of painful to watch.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I have no real faith in Bungie. I am not in the market for an extraction shooter. That kind of whole thing of extraction shooter, looting, massive maps. I like the idea of those, but like the execution just isn't there for me yet. Our Arc Raiders is the one that comes closest because of its more forgiving nature, and that's not me saying like extraction shooters, like kind of like what you said before, is like if you want to make a game that way, make the game that way. I think if and when Marathon fails, it'll be more on the merits of Marathon itself and how it overall, functions and plays and stuff like that, and that won't attract an audience. I don't think it'll be the failings of the genre, although the genre, itself is very cluttered. It's kind of like, once again, the hero shooter space where like there's only so many different types of games that you can put in there. So I guess like approaching a more competitive angle might be better for them in the long run.
Mhm.
I just think there's limited appeal there. And as far as my thoughts on it, it's just like I'll try it, I'll play it. If the gameplay's good, I'll lament the fact that it's in a genre I don't care for. But my experiences with big maps and exploration and extracting of that nature kind of begins and ends with Arc Raiders, because there's just not many games in the field that cater to a persistent experience in the way that Arc Raiders does. The closest would be like Warzone in its heyday, where it's like you're just kind of going in there for the thrill of the game in a battle royale setting, and you build up
Yeah.
your loadouts and your strategies, and it's a different beast. But that's where it begins and ends for me. But I will try it with you, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, like I'm not expecting you to, be wowed by this game or even want to buy it or anything like that.
Mm,
As as a fan of basically everything that Bungie has done in the past since I started holding a controller, like I have to know how this game is. So that is the number one reason why I'm so adamant about playing the Surface Slam.
that's fair.
So yeah, that's it. Okay. Uh, okay. Are we at the point of the? No, we're not. Okay. So, do you remember the game Den of Wolves that I've been kind of
Yeah,
sporadically
hyping up in
bringing
the
up?
background. Yeah.
Yeah. So they are made by the studio Ten Chambers. They are probably best known for GTFO, which is like the hyper co-op focused game where it's basically like first person shooter blended with survival horror.
Mm,
um where like if you don't work together, and when I say work together I mean, you know advanced mechanics in every sense of the word to get out of a situation or progress to the level or whatever have you, that it takes like genuine cooperation and communication to make it through these levels. um and Ten Chambers is known for that at this point. But their new game Den of Wolves, which is kind of it seems to be like a Payday adjacent type of game.
mm-hmm.
um they just got hit by a bunch of restructuring and layoffs. I don't know like the percentage of how many people got laid off, but they say that they are quote fully committed unquote to Den of Wolves. I mean, that's great and all. Um, I am looking forward to the game, but I would like to fucking play it and see that it's not going to be a complete steaming pile of shit on release. Uh,
Mm.
but that's all I got, like we'll see how that goes. Um, and yeah, I
All
mean
right.
that's basically like the only thing for Den of Wolves that I it
That's
came
fair.
across my desk and I felt like I had to put it out there.
Mm.
Um, and of all fucking things, Ubisoft with the Splinter Cell and Metal Gear Solid crossover in what
Oh,
was it, Rainbow
I,
Six?
it's I saw that, and like I kind of got hit with this like sadness almost, because it's like I I have my kind of love hate history with Metal Gear Solid. I enjoyed most, if not all, of the Splinter Cell games, and for the longest time, if you talked about either of these franchises like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was always talk like, when are these two guys going to meet? There were skits, there were fan things, and all this kind of stuff. And it just, we're at the, Splinter Cell is in a very weird spot right now. There was a remake rumored for a while that hopefully got canned. I can't remember if it did or not. Metal Gear Solid is inching towards making new games via this new team and the remake and all the teasing. And to see Snake and Sam Fisher have this moment where they finally meet on screen, I'm just like, that is so cool. And then I remember a couple things. I'm like, this is in Rainbow Six Siege, which has a long history. It's almost like Overwatch in a lot of ways with the decisions they've made with the characters and the balancing over time. It's like, I saw gameplay from it, previewing Snake, and I'm like, yeah, I remember Siege being fun. And then I just remember all the nonsense around it and like the people.
I honestly,
and the
dude,
what?
I almost never had a good time in Siege. It just wasn't for me.
I think it's just like, I don't know if it's just if it was because it was a hero shooter. I don't know. I thought the gameplay was fine. I thought there was a lot of stuff under the hood that was good, and it's sustained to this day for a reason.
Gameplay was fine. It just like the overall package, I guess, was just not. It was too hero shooter for me. It just wasn't my thing. I just wish they would either remaster or remake Rainbow Six Vegas 2.
That's
like that is the Rainbow Six game that I want. I know.
Rainbow Six Siege, it's in too good of a spot. That is like one of the few things that Ubisoft has managed to like maintain and they're happy with.
Yeah.
Is Siege. And
everybody else is happy with.
Yeah, I'm it's weird. I'm in this spot where it's like I wish I got that team together at some point to play it and put more time into it, but at the same time I'm like, I kind of would have hated where it went in the long run, so I'm kind of glad I never got into it. And this just goes back to what I'm saying, is like, I see Snake and Sam Fisher there, and it's like they got the original voice actor for Snake, David Hayter, he's back, but you never got Michael Ironside back for Sam Fisher. And it's really cool to see these guys together, but like it's just going to be as operators in this hero shooter.
It's too little, too late. Yeah, it's just too hero shooter for me. They could have did something special with Rainbow Six Siege, but whatever. Not for me. Yeah. Anywho, that's basically all I got. That was it for my news. A lot of small stuff this week.
Yeah.
So I know we still have State of Play to get to. I don't really have like too much time.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll just rapid fire the State of Play because like we got most of the big stuff out of the way already. There were basically 3 highlights for me in this, and like let's see. Like the first thing I'll note is that Konami came in swinging to the point where they basically had their own little sidebar at the event. Like they showed off like 4 different things. They showed off a new original game, which I've already kind of forgotten, but it seemed like the most promising because it is a new original game by them. They showed off the 2nd volume of the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, which it was kind of a given the fact that the first one was called Volume 1, but it is very crazy to me to see Metal Gear Solid 4 finally free of PlayStation 3 jail. That was like one of the last remaining major exclusives trapped in that generation of consoles. So I mean that was a pretty big deal, even though if you really wanted to play it, you can emulate it, you could play it on your PS3 or whatever, but it is nice to kind of see that off there, and we'll see how well the remaster does it, or the port does it justice, because how ports are these days and remasters and remakes of those natures are. So we'll see how that handles, but everything's pointing in the right direction. We'll see what happens. Konami also showed a brand new Castlevania, and if there's a legacy retro franchise that I enjoy, that's like from the NES days and the Super Nintendo days, mine would be Castlevania. That's like, I'm a big Castlevania guy.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, and I immediately, when I saw that, two things went over my head. The first one was like, oh, it's flashy, it's nice, it's new. And then my second one was like, oh, this is by the Dead Cells guys, isn't it? And I was just like, oh, no. So basically what this all amounted to me is like, Konami finally realized, oh shit, we're a gaming company, we should probably sell some games. And then they took the easy way out and did a bunch of ports and a bunch of outsourcing. It's like I don't want Metal Gear Solid to like inch its way up to a new entry via ports and remakes. I don't want a Castlevania made by a non-Castlevania dev. It's basically like the same way Bloober Team got memed into remaking Silent Hill 2 and 1. The Dead Cells guys got memed into making a new Castlevania game. Like it's like the Small Blessings, we'll see how it plays, but I don't think they have the chops for a Castlevania game where it's slower paced, it's more methodical and things like that, Yeah. So that was one thing, and then there was another thing which you might have more to say on, maybe, but God of War, the Greek trilogy, has got a remake announced for it. That was like the big finishing thing at the State of Play.
I mean, I do and I don't. Like, I think it's cool that they're remaking God of War, but it's got to be on the same caliber as the 2016 God of War, right? It was 2016?
It was 2018, I thought.
2018. It is, the margin of error here is so low because of the time frame that the original trilogy came out in, and like just what the games were to begin with. The margin of error is very, very low. I really hope they don't fuck it up. It could be really cool, but they showed nothing. Just the fact that they're working on it. So we'll see what happens. The original voice actor for Kratos is coming back though, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's a good thing. It's a good sign. But beyond that, like, I have almost nothing to say because they didn't show anything, and I would like to reserve my judgment until I can see something that's tangible. And it's just not here yet.
Yeah, I mean, my only thing, you mentioned like it needs to be on the same caliber of God of War 2018, and I both agree and disagree with you, because like I am one of the guys that says, God of War 2018 was a good game. I think it was a fine game. It's not one-to-one with what the original God of War games did, but I enjoy it for what it is, right?
Yeah.
God of War, the Greek trilogy games and the games that surrounded it are a different beast altogether, where it's more hack and slash. Like, I'm not going to call it brain dead. There are a lot of people who think it's just like Mash to Win, where there's a lot more going on to that. It is peak action hack and slash. It does what it does very well. And I've seen a few people, this isn't what you said. I'm not saying this is what you said, but it reminded me that I've seen a few people saying we need it in the style of God of War 2018. And I have mixed feelings of that potential and that opinion, because like the whole thing is like, one of the things you can do with a remake is you can try it in a different style, right? But at the same time, it's like the Greek trilogy games do something like it did something so well and unique in a way that hasn't really been around since. I think the closest game to try that was probably Dante's Inferno, if you remember that. Right.
Ooh,
that was like
that
was the I plan on playing that soon because it's been on the back of my mind. But like that was the last
game. That was a really good game.
It was, and that was one of the last games to really try that style of action game. Now everybody's obsessed with the Dark Souls over the shoulder action kind of thing. And aside from that, I've just been seeing people saying, and I put people in quotes because mainstream industry personalities and social media gimmick accounts are basically not people. But they're saying like, oh man, just imagine what this scene will look like in the remake, and they're posting perfectly fine, downright amazing scenes and shots from those games. Like God of War 1 and 2, I wouldn't say they're the best looking games on the PlayStation 2, but they used fixed cameras to frame those games in the most flattering way possible, and that's good as a whole. But I remember all these different transitionary periods in the game at the starts of levels or in between combat or after bosses that were really just eye-catching. And like it really, like, again, not the best looking games on the console, but like going back and seeing these, these scenes that people are saying like, oh, can't wait to see this in the remake, it just made me appreciate those games a whole lot more, because it's one of those games again where it didn't get caught up in trying to be realistic. There's a lot of style in those games, even if like the first game in particular was very rudimentary, you can see it in the models, but 1 and 2, have those moments that really stand out. But there's a special kind of wacko out there in all of this that will post scenes from God of War 3 while saying they can't wait for the remake. And that's, I mean, I don't know if it's the peak of
God of War 3 had its
demanding.
moments, but it was not 1 and 2.
Well, here's the thing, that the overall game package aside, I think it's close to the peak of remake demanding stupidity. It's up there with with um with asking for another remake of Resident Evil 1 or asking for a remake of Resident Evil 5, which you've heard me bitch about plenty. When's the last time you saw how God of War 3 looked?
Oh God, years ago.
Yeah, say what you will about the
I
overall.
vaguely remember it, but not like I couldn't like give you like a detailed description.
Well, while I'm talking, quickly just look up like a trailer or something, because while you said like it's not quite the level of 1 or 2 as far as like an overall game is concerned, the way the game looks is like up there with the peaks of what the PlayStation 3 and 360 are capable of. Like if I see somebody post a scene from God of War 3 and say I can't wait for this game to be remade, like that's insanity to me, because like that game is quite the looker. There's a reason, like it never got like a remaster the same way 2 and 3 and everything else got a remaster, and they were bundled to 3 as kind of like an anchor. Like that game looks really well. Like that game arguably doesn't need a remake from any angle.
So I'm watching some snippets right now of some gameplay, and obviously it still is in the style of a fixed camera, but I mean it looks really good graphically.
Yeah, God of War 3.
It looks really good.
Yeah, God of War 3 is like back when, we like if you look at like Gears of War 3 on the Xbox 360 and how that was like a really good example of how graphics could look on the Xbox 360. Like, Sony and Microsoft, some of their like games that were meant to push the systems to the limits, they just really just hold up. And I think, say what you will about the game as a whole, God of War 3 is one of those games that really holds up. So seeing people say like I can't wait to see this in the remake as if it needed to be remade desperately was just crazy to me.
I mean, I don't think a fixed camera is something that is palatable to the gaming audience like overall anymore, but just from the pure visual standpoint, this looks like it could be current gen, which is like really fucking saying something.
Yeah, it's God of War 3 is quite the good looking game.
Yeah,
and
I did not remember this at all. Wow.
Yeah, I mean God of War isn't really like, I like the first couple games. I have fond memories. It was also one of the major collections I picked up when I got a PS3. But it's not necessarily something in the back of our minds. You have a lot of good things to say about 2018, which is just another good game. But the original trilogy,
I thought it was borderline perfect.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was a good one for sure. But yeah, so God of War, I guess, is coming back, and they're gonna be focusing on that particular era until, I guess, moving on to whatever's next for the franchise. But did you see the little game they also pushed out, Sons of Sparta?
Sons of Sparta, yeah, I don't care.
Apparently everybody hates. I looked at that and I'm like, man, it looks all right, but everybody seems to really hate it, and I'm stunned.
I don't have any hate for it. I just don't care.
The funny thing is, David Jaff, who is known for being, kind of I wouldn't say industry stooge, that's not fair, but he's borderline toxic positivity, and he has some really crappy opinions, Even he's saying, like, he found the existence of the game offensive. I'm like, oh, wow.
All right, then.
And you have people bitching about some weird things, like apparently you need to beat the game once to unlock co-op, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of weird. And
well, that's stupid.
My only takeaway is kind of hard to judge because it is meant to be like a before major things happen, so it's like a very much more like toned down kind of thing. It's like before all the crazy stuff. It's Kratos when he's younger, and I'm like, oh, you could kind of do something in that portion of the story, right? But like the designs for some of the enemies are already, like, they're not filling me with confidence, because I'm just like, oh, some like the best way I can put it is like the Medusa kind of creature, why is the Medusa kind of creature wearing like clothes? And the reason is because modern audiences and modern developers can't handle,
Yeah.
something as basic as like a creature's anatomy, So it's just like that worries me about the potential remake, because there's a lot of there's fucking sex mini games in it. There's full frontal nudity in more than a handful of places. It's like if you that just it shows me that I'm not convinced that you're capable of handling this material, which isn't like super serious. It was just open and honest about like the designs that it did, And if you can't handle that, like, should you even be remaking it in the first place?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Everything is so
Stuff.
fucking weird now.
Yep. But that's really the only big stuff I wanted to cover. There is something else, but it's kind of developing, so I want to give it a week anyway. So.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's about as the time that I have anyway. I mean, we're 2 hours into this.
We
so
are. We had
one of the larger episodes. A lot of going on this past week.
Absolutely.
So, on that note, if you're still listening, thank you very much. This is episode 93, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So this was episode 93 of the Pregame Network podcast. We will be back next week for more stuff and things. I mean, maybe it'll be another heater week, but goddamn, this was a big one.
Yeah, it was a big
one. And on that note, thanks for listening, and we'll catch everyone next week.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.